Good morning, Dr. Gould. This is Brian Williams, and I'm coming at you from the rooftop of my home here in Rio de Janeiro. I'm doing the FACES assignment via video submission. So this is really my first time doing anything like this. I wanted to do something creative, something different for this assignment, so here I am. I'm going to do my best to keep this video within 15 minutes because that really is the maximum of what I can submit via the iMovie application to YouTube. So that will be my plan, to upload this to YouTube and send you the link for watching for the submission of this assignment. So just really quickly before I get started, this is the great view that we have of everything behind us. The water, the body of water there is the Lagoa Jacarepaguá. So, and then we have a great view of the mountain range behind us. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know about that before I get started here. So what I have is just a poster submission of the different faces, and as you can see, I've broken everything up into learning, building, and organizing as per the book. And within each large area, I have the smaller faces, and all 10 faces are located here. I have certain ones highlighted. The ones in blue really represent what my faces are: anthropologist, cross-pollinator, and storyteller. I also have hurdler here highlighted. It's kind of like me, but not really like me, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So taking a look at anthropologist, anthropologist is one of the faces I really adhered to when I started reading the book. Just a little bit about that: when I worked for an organization called Inroads many years ago, I had to have responsibility for a number of college students. And again, really just Inroads is an organization that gives summer internships to students, and then those students have to then go on to work for that company upon graduation. So part of my responsibility was to keep contact with students every single month. Sometimes I would, instead of having them to call me or to come by the office, I would go out to see them. And I wanted to see what they were doing in their places of employment. I'd see if they were happy, if they had any questions, and it really gave me a chance to learn what was happening from a very first-person point of view. So I've always really appreciated that anthropologist take. Even at Rutgers, I always thought about what can I do to help my students out, to make things better for them, to make things easier for them. And really it was kind of going to where they are, going to the class, getting into the class if it was an online course. And I really thought that was an effective way to approach my student care. The cross-pollinator, I really appreciate the cross-pollinator approach as well. Cross-pollinating is, it's something that I sort of realized that I liked from my MBA program. In my MBA program, I had my econ class, and within the econ class, during the final project, my group and I had to put together slides for our presentation. Well, for the company that we were studying, I decided that instead of sort of reading about the company and saying this is what they did and this is why, I wanted to show it more with data. So I took information that I learned in my previous course, that was the quantitative methods course, and I brought that learning into the econ class. So from there I was able to really say, not only this is what the company did, but this is why. I was able to demonstrate that with the numbers. So, even though it was, all within our MBA program, I saw it as a way to go out of the boundary of the econ class, bring in other learning, and demonstrate its usefulness even, under a different subject. And so from that, I sort of developed a quote, learning doesn't happen in a vacuum. really that means within the vacuum of one class, all the learning that happens within that class doesn't necessarily need to stay there. Everything shakes hands, everything's connected. So I take that thought and I look to other areas for best practices, for success strategies. And I thought that that was always really helpful and something that I, love to continue to do. Going into storytelling, storytelling is another area. I mean, we all like a good story. I like a good story. I like telling stories during orientation. I'm telling stories now. I've told 2 stories already. But during my time at Rutgers, I would often have to do new student orientation, where all the students came in and we sat in the big auditorium and we talked about policies, procedures. We talked about, of course, the MBA curriculum. But I would tell a story about a student in a human resources class. The student didn't observe the whatever is said in class has to stay in the class policy. But the student, what she was doing was recording lectures, and then of course taking the lectures outside of the class. So what I had to do was to intervene with that student and say, this is what the professor is saying, what's going on, what's your point of view? I talked to the professor, we all came to an understanding. But I would tell that story of the student to the new students during orientation so that hopefully other students wouldn't make that same mistake of not paying attention to what's on the syllabus. And I think that's an effective way to get students to listen. Sometimes I have kind of a dry presentation, but when I can get a laugh and tell stories, I think that connects a little bit better with my audience. Also, I have hurdler listed on here as one of my quasi faces. And I think maybe I just really adhered to hurdling because when I was in high school and in college, I actually ran the hurdles during track season. Not only that, I was a champion hurdler. So I really appreciated the idea of hurdling, overcoming boundaries, overcoming barriers, trying to figure out ways around problems. I always believe that the truth is out there. The truth can be found, it just has to be pursued. And if there's a blockage one way, then there's another way to attack the problem. And so that's something that I always like to pay attention to, and just wanted to bring that up as well. What I observed also with these other faces is, I'm kind of an experimenter. I think the difference between me and experimentation is that with experimenting, one has to be very persistent to try and try and try and try again to reach the answer. And I'm not always one to have that persistence, I guess, to keep experimenting. Although I do try to get answers and do try to figure things out, I suppose there comes a time when you kind of have to abandon what you're doing and press through some other kind of way. So I really appreciate experimenting, but it's not quite me. Director and collaborator, those are very useful, very helpful. It's just not quite a strength of mine. Sometimes I have to be the director and push people towards what it is we have to accomplish, or coax a little bit more and understand strengths of what my group has to do, and move the conversation forward. So I think I can do that whenever necessary. It's just not quite a strength of mine, I suppose. The experienced architect, set designer, and caregiver. I'll just talk about caregiver really quick. Caregiving is something that's necessary. It's something that I recognize in other people. I just know that it's not really a strength of mine. And I guess I contrast that to the thought of my mom. She was a caregiver. She really enjoyed caring for people. I think it warmed her heart to do so. So when I look at the way she, sort of got satisfaction from taking care of people, from cooking and just talking to and really embracing people, I know that it's a necessary, but it's not quite, I guess, a strength of mine. It doesn't quite warm my heart in the same way that I recognized it warmed hers. So I just think with that in mind, there's a difference. And of course, I have, I do care for people. Certainly people within my family and people that I had worked with and my students. But it's just a different type of I guess, a reaction within me that I don't quite feel the same way I think that other true caregivers do. I guess I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. So what I wanted to talk about now is the actual questions. Talking about leading a team through creative problem solving that considers divergent data, planning strategies, and views. As far as the anthropologist, how can we learn more about the student experience where they are? Can we attend classes, visit the bookstore, gain access to an online class? What are the students experiencing, and can I learn that for myself and try to make it better for them? If for anything, make it better for myself so that I can talk more with students about it. As a cross-pollinator, building community, learning from retirement communities, maybe that's a way to build community. If Rutgers is a commuter school, how can we learn how to build community when students are not staying overnight on the campus? Maybe retirement communities is a way to learn something and to bring into our industry. And as a storyteller, rely on my own success stories that have value and context. So leading with a mind to the future that considers educational entity reform in light of global context. Anthropologists, is it possible to meet with students in other countries? If you can go there directly, fantastic, but perhaps video chat, Google Hangout, Zoom sessions. Recent graduates get feedback about where education is going. Possibly from the high school level, try to understand what high school graduates are looking for in their college experience and implementing those programs. As a storyteller, using stories to paint inspirational visions of the future. Encourage others to share their stories as well. Because there are so many stories out there, not only my own, but other people with valuable experiences, they can share as well. Influencing the thinking and actions of others to carry out plans of reform. I incorporated the hurdler here, listen to problems, encourage follower input, and employ the best solutions, which I think has value when we try to inspire others, get them to think about reform and pushing things beyond the status quo. As a cross-pollinator, draw out the diverse backgrounds of the group, listen to best practices employed by each person, use a bit of director to have them carry out our plans and our organization. So just some things that I wanted to share via video. In many ways, I kind of feel like it was rushed just a little bit. I did make another video, a video 2 days ago, but I was not able to get it off of my phone to upload to the website. So I've done my best to keep this within 15 minutes, but I'm going to sign off on this homework assignment. And thanks again, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.